Court justified this by saying money was speech, and they cannot restrict freedom of speech. However, when the Supreme Court said this, they saw it as okay that people with more money would have an outside say. Money is the lifeblood of modern political campaigns, and that it takes millions to organize people and advertise on television and radio. Unlimited money to politicians can easily be translated as influence, which is why we have laws against bribery and corruption. In a time where some families have more money than 50% of all Americans and they can give anything they want, the laws against bribery and corruption have effectively been circumvented, and the people of America no longer have an equal voice in the laws that govern us. And when we say no longer have an equal voice, and when we no longer have an equal voice in the laws that govern us, we can say that democracy has failed, right? So notice, right, there's a framing argument and an argument that directly answers the resolutional question, or an argument that directly links back to the framing. You need both of them to have a case. As you already know, right? Like you had one argument debates before, and you really didn't resolve that debate because you talked past each other. Even when you were trying to relitigate that debate, you were like, we should win because of this. We said this, right? But none of you told why your argument should be central to the overall debate. None of you explicitly framed the debate. When you are having your case debates tomorrow, you will have a full case. You're going to have a framing argument, and then you will have an argument that links to the resolutional question. Then you're going to have a debate, right? And you're going to be flowing that debate. That's going to be a much more intense debate. And you're going to see that there are other techniques and skills that you're going to need as well that we're going to talk about, right? Like extending arguments, weighing arguments, which we talked about some, right? But weighing is going to be really important, right? And we're going to introduce the concept tomorrow after your debate to crystallization. How to crystallize the debate, right? And you don't have to worry about that until tomorrow, but I'm just throwing the word out to you right now so you're at least familiar with it. One of the things that you do to explain at the end of a debate, right? Like after you've had the affirmative and negative, at the end of a debate, why do you win? Based on what your opponent said, based on what you said, like your opponent said some stuff, you said some stuff, why at the end of this all, why do you win, right? That's crystallization. But for tomorrow, tomorrow in the morning, you were having these case versus case debates. So question, what did you learn just now? Alani, what did you learn just now?
Just now?
Yes.
I learned that a framing argument needs to have a argument that leads back to it to further prove the point.
Right. In order to make a case for or against something, you need both. Right? Will you use framing arguments in other types of arguments and discussions that you have?
Absolutely.
So when you're just talking normally, right? Like when you're arguing with your friends, will you think about how to frame the debate?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because it gives me the advantage. Because if I have at least one argument that I can win with framing, making my point more important than every other point, I can win. Like if at least one of my points it stands on top of all the other points, I win.
Right. And what it does is it really centers any discussion. All discussions at that point will have to be central to the thing that is most important, or they would, like, if they grant your framing argument, then you control the debate. You control the discussion, right? In order for you to win tomorrow, the first thing that you're gonna have to win the framing argument in order for you to win the argument that links back to it, because both of you have arguments with different impacts. Like your impact is gonna be different than your impact, right?
Uh-huh.
So if your impacts are different, what does the debate come down to?
Whose impact is more meaningful?
Which is what? How do you determine that?
By how impactful it is in the long run, or the bigger picture, or
What do you have to do in order to win? What do you have to do to prove that your impacts are more important than the other impact? What do you have to do to prove that the impact of your argument is more important than the impact of other arguments in the debate? Wait, based on what? Based on the what?
Framing your point is the best.
Right. You win based on framing it. Right? But you have to be like explicit, right? As in, you win based on framing it. Like it's not just which is most in the long run. I don't know if that's your framing or not. Like you didn't tell me that the way to frame the debate is what's best for the long run.
isn't that when you win?
it depends, right? It depends what your framing is. If your framing is about magnitude, if the way you frame the debate is about who has the biggest impact, then you be like, well, no, even though there's a small probability of nuclear war, then like nuclear war might happen tomorrow, right? So you vote based on who would hurt the most people. So, and it could be, look, if you're talking about the long run, but if we don't get to the long run, then what's the point? You're saying that, look, we need to do this so that in the long run, we'll have water. In the long run, we'll live. But I'm telling you, we're gonna die tomorrow. So does the long run matter?
No.
Right, because you framed the debate based on what is important to do right now.
But then doesn't that mean that some debates will inherently lose against one another? Like if I'm arguing
Every time a debate, there's only one winner and a loser.
Yeah, but if I'm arguing that nuclear war, if it happened tomorrow, we should do something to prevent it, and you're like, oh my God, it doesn't matter anyways, we're all gonna die, then wouldn't yours have more of a weighing effect? So my argument, I'm just gonna inherently lose. I should have never debated in the first place.
Why should you? Why are you hearing it lose? You say nuclear war's gonna happen tomorrow?
Because what is it? Because if I'm weighing based on the magnitude of or who it affects more, wouldn't they win? Because doesn't this affect more people? Because just like you said, the
In
long
other
run
words,
doesn't even matter. I shouldn't have debated.
if people are gonna die tomorrow, then the people who are saving people who are gonna die tomorrow should win, right?
Yeah.
What if there's like almost zero probability that's gonna happen?
Then I mean, it wouldn't matter.
What if your harms are definite? Like if what you did, like if you don't do something, then you have millions of people who will be dying in the next 10 years.
Mine matters more, but I'm thinking of the argument as if like the person is like they're right, like it's factual, like it's gonna happen regardless of the fact.
Is there any argument that's factual about nuclear war happening tomorrow?
No.
Right.
There's a probability. I mean, it's a
Right, but is there any if there was an argument that was like, no, we're all gonna die tomorrow. In the case that is actually true, I don't think any of our debates matter, right?
That's what I was saying.
No, but I mean, it's not about winning or losing the debate. We're just gonna die.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right, but I mean, like we would
So nobody
actually be
should've
dead.
debated.
No, but that's only in the instance that we're all gonna.
Yeah.
And in the one time that you debate and there's no tomorrow, then yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But if there's a possibility of tomorrow, then that's totally irrelevant. Does that make sense?
Talk about how
Right.
someone says.
Like in other words, like most of the time when people are saying nuclear war is gonna happen tomorrow, that argument probably has some holes in it. And if it didn't have any holes in it, then like, it doesn't matter, right? So let's assume that an argument like that is gonna have some holes.